What's poppin', y'all? YoungBoy just edged out Kodak Black for being the luckiest rapper in the game. I mean, would we say? I think YoungBoy edged him out because he had a Fed case, and meanwhile, they also like dismissed that evidence, or they got that evidence dismissed. But Akademiks, listen, man, we gotta give credit where credit is due. I believe that he was instrumental in getting YoungBoy free. Now, a lot of people are gonna hate, but the truth is what the truth is. Listen, you gotta criticize when there's something to criticize, and you gotta give props where it's time to give props, because people were saying like, ain't no way YoungBoy getting no damn pardon. Granted, YoungBoy's already out, but he was on probation for a very long time, and I'm looking at you. You know that YoungBoy wasn't gonna be fine on probation. The guy went back to jail or back to prison because he was phoning it in as a fake doctor. I also don't even know how they got that like spanked or thrown out of there, or I think that ended up adding time, whatever the case may be. Now, the reason that this even happened in the first place is because Akademiks signed with Rumble. So Rumble, Chris Pavlovsky, they have a strong relationship with not only Dana White. So this ties in a little bit. So everyone, or the majority of people, they know Rumble, not only just because like Sneeko was on that platform and he was one of the biggest like creators on there, but as more of a political free speech platform, because when in 2020, a lot of people got banned off of mainstream platforms, whether it be like J6 related, which was like the Capitol thing, or it was misinformation regarding the jab, or also the pandemic. For those types of reasons, people really shifted onto alternative platforms, and Rumble was at the forefront of it. So Rumble built a strong right-wing / Republican base initially, and they attempted to kind of branch out. They gave Gideon a deal. They gave Sneeko a deal. Although Sneeko did get banned for those reasons that other people got banned as well. They gave Tate a deal. I think he was the first one that got a deal. And one of the people that they also tried to get they gave Speed and Kai Cenat their own show, which was a complete waste of money. But what they did was they developed relationships with Dana White. Now, Dana White, he has his like power slap thing on there. I think they have exclusive, I don't know if it's an exclusive license, but they stream the power slap events on there, which is like a subsidiary of the UFC. Dana White owns the UFC. Dana White is boys with Donald Trump. Like they're locked in. And a lot of fighters support Donald Trump. Of all the professional sports leagues, you could probably say that the UFC is the most vocal in their support for Trump. Now, some people will say like, yeah, NFL probably has a lot of fans. Yeah, but I think they're more silent as opposed to fighters. Fighters are just going to say what fighters are going to say. And fighters don't have as strong of restrictions put on them like NFL players. Like fighters were able to walk in with whatever flag they wanted for the most part, say damn near whatever they wanted, maybe at most get a slap on the wrist. But if NFL players were doing anything like that, yeah, they were going to sit. I mean, just look at what happened to Colin Kaepernick as an example. Now imagine if you actually said something. So they have this strong relationship, and this gets them close to Trump. So Akademiks ends up signing with Rumble, and he signs this non-exclusive deal. He was getting offered a lot of deals at this time. He signs a non-exclusive deal, which allowed him to stream on all platforms at the same time, and then he would move people over to Rumble for a couple of hours, and he had a couple of different deals with these sponsors and companies that worked with Rumble, as well as, I don't know if it was like a specific gambling sponsor that was associated with Rumble, but this allowed for him to get close to Donald Trump Jr., or Trump as well. He got to meet him alongside Aiden Ross and Sneeko at this UFC event. I don't remember when it was, but then he locks in with Donald Trump Jr. Donald Trump Jr. invites him to Mar-a-Lago, and they do an interview. And there were a lot of hit pieces that were going around on Akademiks, on him being like right-wing and all this and kind of like radical. It was a hit piece. When all Akademiks was doing was the same thing that he was doing on every other platform. He was just doing the regular hip-hop talk. And that's the reason why they brought him on there. They were trying to expand past this political perception that people had of the platform. Now I think they kind of just double down on what's working for them, and they understand their niche, and they're not trying to compete with, how can you really compete with platforms like Kick that just have like billions upon billions to just throw, and Amazon, etc. So I think that they're settling into their niche right now. But in this interview clip, Akademiks actually mentions YoungBoy, and this is at a time when YoungBoy was locked up. So I want to play this clip for you guys right now.
A lot of people are asking. There's a guy who's a beloved. He's just a misunderstood guy actually. His name is NBA YoungBoy. Okay. He's been on federal house arrest. He lives in Utah. He was on federal house arrest for like 2.5 years, which to me just sounds wrong. Like if
for what?
For gun possession. He basically shot a music video They believe that they got a call that, hey, there were guys on a block that were shooting a video and they saw weapons. They pulled up.
So they don't even know?
The police showed up. No one was there. They grabbed one guy who happened to be his cameraman, and because he's a big name, they seen him on camera holding what they believe is a weapon, and they're like, well, we're going to give you charges for that. So he has federal charges for that.
But it could have been a prop? They don't even know?
It could have been a prop. And they've been arguing, hey, this is a prop. That's their actual argument in court. He's been sitting on federal house arrest for 2.5 years. And, you know, he got picked up today. Something happened at his house, I guess. You know, they raided it and they picked him up. And now everyone's saying, you got to ask Donald Trump Jr., if Trump gets back in office and this guy's locked up, we got to throw him to the top of the party.
So in this clip, clearly he's talking about, he's like, yo, do you know who YoungBoy is? He's like, nah. He's like, yo, I think this case is BS. It's gun related. Mar-a-Lago, this is in Florida. This is clearly an issue that they mess with. They're like, okay, man, like this. And the weapon thing, I think it was a federal gun case. But they was like, okay, I'm going to hear that out. And a bunch of people thought that this was a meme. Keep in mind, Akademiks had gone back and forth with YoungBoy. They had beef. Also, YoungBoy had toyed with Akademiks for quite a while. He had this guy fly into 3 separate locations to do 3 different interviews, none of which ever came out, which is absolutely hilarious. And, you know, Akademiks tries to play it off like, hey, listen, man, you know, like, it's out of respect for him. And I get that, but, like, where's the respect for yourself? Like, after the first time, I understand the dude says, okay, you know, don't put it out. But the second time, like, you're going to pull up for the interview at that point. At that point, he should be pulling up to you, really. And I understand the business aspect of it. More than that, I think Akademiks is really trying to create, like, a crazy moment, having gone up to Gravedigger Mountain. Meanwhile, the only people that we saw drop something from Gravedigger Mountain was Billboard, I think, that did a piece on him, and it was also Gilly and Wallow with $1 million worth of game. That was a little bit like cut here and there. And let's not forget Bootleg Kev. Yeah, Bootleg Kev went up there too. Shout out to him. I don't want to leave out anybody that went up to Gravedigger Mountain and did something with YoungBoy. But Akademiks was vouching for YoungBoy here, and then what happens now? YoungBoy gets pardoned, and YoungBoy gives his own response and says the following. I want to thank President Trump for granting me a pardon and giving me the opportunity to keep building. As a man, as a father, and as an artist, this moment means a lot. It opens the door to a future I've worked hard for, and I'm fully prepared to step into this. Big thanks to the pardon czar, Miss Alice Marie Johnson, for fighting for second chances for so many people. Really, this is like YoungBoy's 9th chance. And to my lawyer, Brittany K. Barnett, for being in my corner and all your hard work to make this possible. And thank you to everyone who believed in me. I'm grateful, I'm focused, I'm ready. Kentrell at Real Donald Trump. And he also posted his lawyer. He posted an image of her and he thanked her. And he said, my lawyer. And yeah, he's got big X to plug. And he tagged her Instagram with the link inside it too. So Akademiks reacts to this and he gives his own opinion on what he feels he contributed.
I need this clip everywhere. Because all of these little Sambo, woke niggas, like the Mark Lamar Hill niggas, they were all like, look at Akademiks sitting with Donald Trump's son. I was planting a seed in his ear. Gang, I told y'all, when I met Donald Trump at UFC and I dapped him up and I said, hey, listen, I'm one of the biggest media outlets. And I think his team had told him about it because we were supposed to do a dinner one time. He said, hey, you know, I do a lot for the hip hop community. You know what he told me? He says, I brought A$AP Rocky back home. I freed Kodak Black and I freed Lil Wayne. And I said, sir, thank you. We appreciate you. And I shook his hand. Gang, you got it. All y'all niggas who claim y'all too, like, y'all up like a dead ass because Biden dead at this point. That y'all don't want to f Trump? Watch what my man's is doing. YB. Yo, YB, we coming to Gravedigger Mountain. It's going to be lit. Chat, watch the whole media ignore it. All of these bum-ass media, when they had Biden, they couldn't get a sit-down with Biden. They couldn't find his crack-smoking son. They couldn't get shit going on. Big Act, make the moves happen. By the way, another thing, I'm going to keep it a bean. This is why you say, yo, big W to Rumble. My man who owns Rumble, Chris Pavlovsky, he owns Rumble. He's who put me with him. Facts. Remember when I went to Rumble? Yo, hip-hop is going all right. That's what they said. All these bitch-ass ass niggas. Hip-hop is going all right. One of the biggest media. Look what happened. Larry Hoover coming home because of Big DT Big 47, Big 45. Biden, all he did was pardon his crack-smoking son.
Really? He's spitting here. Because if anything had happened, like keep in mind, there were a Dirk interview that he did on Off the Record was getting mentioned because, or like people were throwing aim at him or taking shots at him because it was mentioned in some of the, I think it was the appeal or for bail or something to prevent Dirk from getting bail, something to do with Dirk's case. And people were coming at him for that, saying, yo, like he's the feds, he's getting him locked up, this and that, which he does criticize other people for doing that. When his interviews, people are talking crazy, like loose cannon, he was getting loose cannon to say whatever on his interview, but he's just pointing it at No Jumper, like, damn, No Jumper getting people locked up. Like, nah, you contributed to that too. They just didn't pull your stuff. So you were really trying to goad loose cannon into saying anything and everything, which we don't even know what's true at this point. So they're trying to take aim at him for that. But with this, people really don't want to give him credit. And I get why. When you're hated, you're just not going to get credit. And you cannot flex like, yo, people are not going to give me my credit. Watch, they're not going to say anything. Yeah, you wanted to take on the villain role. And he completely adopted the villain role. I think this was all 6ix9ine's influence and 6ix9ine's doing. And it's easy to be hated. Well, no, it's not easy to be hated. It's easy to lean into the hate, but then when the repercussions come, they just kind of dive deeper and deeper into the hate, and you're just not going to get praised. That is what it is. I will be the first to say, though, like, how can you credit anybody else within hip-hop? Who else in hip-hop spoke to Trump, someone directly with Trump, to the Trump team that can raise their hand and said, yo, I talked to Trump about pardoning YoungBoy, and then it ended up happening? The only other person that's hip-hop adjacent that's been getting people pardoned, Ice Cube was down to talk about something. This was years ago when Biden was, I think Biden was still in office, and they were going in on Ice Cube for even wanting to have a conversation. And then there's Kodak Black's lawyer, who is the only other person, and Kodak Black's lawyer, I think or whoever Lil Wayne's lawyer was. But Kodak Black's lawyer is a lot closer to hip-hop than whoever it was that vouched for Lil Wayne. And they were going in on them. But all these other outlets, they really didn't do much, especially the mainstream ones, man. And Biden really didn't pardon any rappers that we saw. So realistically, Akademiks is right here. He definitely deserves his credit for getting YoungBoy out. And now YoungBoy's going on tour. And this is the thing too, man. YoungBoy, he's actually hit the ground running as opposed to Young Thug, who's just been dragging his feet for who knows. Well, this was like 8 months now? The hell has he been up to? Yeah, man, Akademiks got to get credit for this one. Like, this is hip-hop history right here. Yeah, YoungBoy getting pardoned. This would have been better if YoungBoy wasn't already out of prison, out of federal prison. I think they did this at the right time because they're like, yo, we'll just cut your probation. And, you're good to go at this point. You're basically damn near a clean slate, which is a beautiful thing for YoungBoy. And hopefully he's got his head screwed on straight right now. But we'll see. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm going to see y'all on the next one.